Guys, welcome to the Big Circle, which is actually just a big rectangle, but eventually we'll have a big circle. We're excited about what we're speaking into existence, about our big circle.
Because Chad didn't get us the table he said he was going to get us.
Or Michael.
Or Michael. We've got a few listeners that have been stalking us. I just found out. You told me you were stalking us. We would be happy if you bought us a table. I'm not going to bust you out just yet, but you know who you are.
But next episode I will.
We need a circle table.
We need a big circle table.
And Ivy can't afford one.
No.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, yeah.
No. He thought it was pretty funny.
Zach can laugh, but you can't.
We're with our special guest, Zach Bland.
We're so excited. If you tuned into our last episode, you got to hear the before story of Zachary Bland with Innovative Automotive. We were so excited to hear that because not only did I get to witness part of this story going through John 3:16 Ministries and the way that God transformed his life dramatically, but now we get to talk about what goes into the after. What's happened after the fact that when God got a hold of him?
Absolutely.
What else?
Absolutely.
More to come. Good stuff.
So he gets here from last episode. I mean, he's in his early 30
years old.
30 years old, man. He's running on fumes, been in addiction his whole life. He's getting that phone call from someone that seems interested and cares. He knows in his mind, I'm going to John 3. You get there.
Mm-hmm. John 3:16, you have to be there. I think service starts at 9:30, so if you're trying to... This is one thing I didn't know about John 3:16. We pull up, and there's a giant sign that says men who are trying to get in. I didn't know you might not get in.
Right.
I've never heard of the place.
Right.
So that initially was like, oh, man, are they going to accept a dude like me?
Yeah.
You know?
I got to get in because if
Yeah.
not, I'm going to die. That's what I told him. I said, man, it's going to be rough.
But I didn't know any of that. I didn't know that was what you have to tell them. I just showed up a guy who was in pretty bad detox, and I really wanted help, but I didn't know what it was and what it looked like. And I'd been to most every facility in the state of Arkansas, and I'm pretty
bad detox. What's that look like for our viewers?
Well, it depends on where you're at in addiction. At this point in my addiction, I'm looking at probably 10 years with heroin and fentanyl. Every time you go back, it gets a lot worse.
Yeah.
At this point, if I could afford it, if you're from Garland County, you had something come up missing in the 2000 late 10s, it was probably me.
Thank God the statute of limitations is passed.
At this point, if I could steal enough or con somebody out of it, whatever I had to do, I was about 15 grams of fentanyl a day. And a pretty bad addict is about 3 to 5.
Wow.
And at this point, so my detox looked like this, is that when I showed up, they asked, you sit through church. It's like 3 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a quick church service.
And we're coming down. We're
I'm in bad shape. And I'm thinking, what in the world?
Hallelujah, get us in here. Yeah.
So I get a pretty quick interview because it's not too hard to see how bad a shape I'm in.
Yeah.
I sit through the first. I just break down bawling, crying. Because at this point, to backtrack, I'd been married for 7 years, and I was getting ready to be divorced. And it was a lady I'd met in college, and we had 7 years been married, and I was at the end of my rope, and we were getting divorced. So my life's in shambles, absolute shambles.
Was she an addict?
She was not at all.
Wow. So just tolerating your
so you can only
twisted
imagine
nature at that point. Yeah.
At that point, you can only congratulate somebody for putting up with somebody for 7 years.
Right. That's right.
So my life's in absolute shambles. I want to quit being a drug addict. I don't know how. I sit through my interview. I'll never forget this. This is the first time it's ever happened to me. For the first time in my life, there's this old man who I ended up 6 months in the mechanic shop with there. His name's Perry Ross. I'd heard my whole life, well, why don't you quit doing drugs? As if that's not the first thing I think about every day.
Right.
You know? And
it's not that easy.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Never thought of it.
Right.
So this old man looks at me. He's an old white-haired man. He looks at me and he says, did you get high today? And I'm like, man, I'm here because I'm a drug addict. What do you think? But yeah. And then the way the interview process works is kind of a good guy, bad guy, good cop, bad cop thing.
Yeah.
And another person is like, I thought he wanted to quit doing drugs. And at this point, I'm so beat down and broken that I can't even get mad. I'm just in shambles. And that old man just kind of stopped, and he's like, he's just in too deep. That's why. And for that really changed me. I had to backtrack about 2 hours. I get to John 3:16. That's got this long hallway, and I go to the bathroom to do what I'm going to do because this is my last hoorah. And I walk out. I'll never forget this old man. There's a couple people in life. We talked about this on the previous podcast, being nice, how far that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to backtrack real quick, I was detoxing really bad around 2000, I would say 16, in Groves, Oklahoma. I'd started having seizures. I was aspirating. They took me to the ER, and I wake up in a bad fentanyl detox. There's this older lady. She's probably, I would say, close to 75 years old. And she walks in, and I'm like, oh, man. She said, can I talk to you? And I'm like, oh, man, what am I going to hear now?
Right.
And she shuts the door. I'll never forget this. I haven't wrote my Bible. She says, I understand why you're here. She's like, I just want to encourage you and tell you that my grandson, he just got his 1 year clean, and you can do this. You care if I pray with you? And I'll never forget that, because these are the people in life that helped change my life through not telling me about the Bible, but showing it to me.
Right.
That's right.
And
right.
this is always, I mean, you're talking years and years and years later. And I've always strived to be that person now that I've made it to the other side. But to fast forward back to where I'm at, I walk in and I go do what I'm doing in the bathroom before church starts, and I walk out and I drop something on the floor I shouldn't have brought in, and this old man, his name's Rex, he's 6 foot tall, probably weighs 120 pounds. He's just nice old guy. And if you were to see it in public, you probably think, it's the two ends of the spectrum. A guy who, by looking at him, you probably wouldn't think he's ever dealt with drug addiction. Right. No tattoos. He's real slender, older. He walks up to me and he says, hey, son, I think you dropped something. And I look down, and there's a clear syringe with 2 orange caps on the end, and I feel about as low as you can get in life. He said, are you here to get in? I was like, yes, sir, I am. And he's like, it's all right. We'll just throw this away and come on, we'll go into church. And at this point in life,
you didn't have to do that.
Man, I mean, just
he had you.
It was, and I remember these things as I deal with people with what I do now in life.
Yeah.
It's these little things in life that people didn't say, hey, this is what the Bible says, but they just showed me, you know. Yeah. And I look back and I see why they did these things.
So today, when Zach got here today, I had met Zach previously, but never had a conversation with him, just in passing at the tire store. But we get here today. Ivy was a little later because he was still fixing his hair. But
yeah.
Anyway, there's a guy just sitting out on the sidewalk out front, and he's just eating, sitting on the sidewalk. Random stranger, we don't know who it is. Zach comes in and says, hey, does anybody know that guy out there? And I'm like, no. And he's like, I'm going to go talk to him. I don't know what he said, but it makes a whole lot more sense now.
Yeah.
He's returning
Yeah.
that kindness, that openness, that I'm here, you're a human, you matter. You obviously return that to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge
So way
deal.
to go for that. Yeah. That was impressive.
That's you know, I'll never forget this when I was in seminary school. I didn't understand it then. I do now. One of my pastors, he was one of my professors actually, he was telling me, people aren't going to remember the sermons you preach. They're not going to remember the Bible verses you tell them. He said they'll remember when you show up at people's funerals. They'll remember when they're having hard times in life and you just stop by their house for no reason. You go to their kids' football games, graduations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that I've made it to this side and I've seen it in action, how it changed my life, I think it's something that we can all glean from that is, man, quit being so busy.
Yeah.
Be human. You never know what that other person has going on.
Yeah.
And just like that old man, Perry Ross, getting back to where we were at, he was just human. He could have been degrading. He could have been mean.
You don't want help. You're
He was understanding.
Yeah.
So I go to the second interview. It's a 2-step process. You're down here. You can go up there and talk to people who are going to say yes or no. Me and my mom, and my dad. I thought they were going to high-five each other when we finally got the okay to go up there and talk to the people and say yes or no, you know. And so we go up there and they ask what I'm doing, how much, and we got one question into it. How much? When? And it was an immediate, okay, you have to leave and go to detox. You can't stay here. But at this point in my life, I've been kicked out of, left every facility I've ever been to. Right. And I really wanted something different this time because as Ivy knows, as you've heard, there's no detoxing. Yeah. This is it. Tomorrow morning you're going to get up and be on a weed eater or you're going to be doing this or that. There's no downtime. Yeah. And so I told him, like, I want to stay. Please do not make me leave. I'm probably not going to come back. And man,
don't let me leave because I won't come back.
Yeah, and that was I needed to stay here, but because of the medical side of it, I couldn't as bad as I wanted to. Right. So my story, I get accepted. I get told to leave right then, and I get sent off to detox.
Wow. So we'll pick up when we get back from commercial. We'll pick up you going to detox, and man, it's just interesting story. Yeah. You're probably getting flashbacks.
I mean, it's amazing, man. It's inspiring. It's just like it was just like yesterday.
Absolutely.
Fast forward 2.5 years later.
Absolutely. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We're going to go to a commercial.
J&M Trailer Sales and Service. J&M Trailer Sales and Service. Huge selection of trailers, trailer repair, and prices so low, it's stupid. Also, if you don't want to commit to buying a trailer or a piece of equipment, they rent it out as well. Trailers, car haulers, skid steer, excavators. J&M Trailer Sales, located at 2510 South 2nd Avenue, Paragould, Arkansas. Introducing the Sunroom. The house can get crowded, and if you need somewhere for family or friends to stay during the holidays, the Sunroom is a pet-friendly rental in Paragould, Arkansas, with a top-rated Airbnb Superhost rating. Beautiful scenery overlooking a nice pond, peaceful, relaxing, and much better than a hotel. Guys, welcome back to the Big Rectangle Circle. Sorry, I get confused at times. Well, we're excited to be back with Zach Bland as we talk about this story, and we'll kind of pick up where we're at.
And again, I want to say thank you for his just transparency and honesty. Man. You can see it. Hopefully our viewers are visualizing and seeing that. Man, so many people just want to hide behind everything's okay because I got it fixed now. Yeah. Man, he's telling the story because he's wanting people to understand that you can come back no matter where you're at, no matter how far you're down. So picking up where we left off, so you don't get accepted, man.
I do.
You get accepted, but you have to do something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get accepted and told to leave, which I was kind of confused about because most places you go to, you can't leave once you get there. Right. So I go to detox, and right back to the same thing on being nice to people in life. I go to a detox. It's a crazy process to get help these days, which is really unfortunate, but long story short, you have to go to the ER, tell them you're going to kill yourself, basically. Yeah. Because you're a drug addict. And this is the quickest way, so this is the way I took. I get accepted. I go to the detox. I get sent up to the, I think, 3rd floor, which is a psych floor, and they hold you until you can go into the detox. But these people who work especially in the mental health field, they're so unappreciated, I'd say. It's a hard job. Yeah. Really hard job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I
think there's so much stigma there. Just period. You know, I think, in my philosophy, even the struggles that I've had in my own life, I always looked at everybody else as crazy.
Yeah,
like
and we all are.
You know what I mean? Everybody else is crazy, right? Just to realize that we've all struggled, and we all go through some things. So
yeah, absolutely. So I go through. I got really lucky on this detox because I didn't have to go through it the normal way. I was in such bad shape that all I remember is getting there about 6 hours in. They didn't really. I don't know if they believed how much of the fentanyl I was on. But they gave my labs back. I remember getting asked if I could swallow a pill, I was like, I guess. And then I woke up, I think 5 days later. I got put into, I'm not quite sure. I know that I woke up on a Thursday, I think it was.
So the pill just.
I think I woke up, I guess my body temperature started to go up. So I woke up with this like water blanket thing covered me. That's about all. And it was not a great sight. If you've ever heard of opiate detox, it's just a bad deal. And so that day, I go one more day, and then I go back to John 3:16. And for the first month, I was physically cross-eyed at John 3:16 because when you're on that much hope, it just affects your body. So I had to walk around everywhere like this for a month. Oh my, because I was cross-eyed.
Wow.
And, it's really heavy fentanyl users. For some reason, it does your body that way. I don't know why. Luckily, my eyes went back straight.
Were you really cross? Because I never noticed that. I just noticed that your face was kind of stuck, like you were just mad.
So my eye, I believe his left eye, was just completely gone. Just pointed in a totally different direction. And
so that's something that's
another
common?
one of our friends who, same thing.
That's something that's common that happens?
I'm really heavy at fentanyl users.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's just your body's in so much shock.
How blessed you are tonight.
Yeah.
So how's your vision now?
Good. I've always had good vision when I'm not doing drugs.
Yeah.
And,
hey, our listeners better remember that. So true. There's so many truths behind what he just said right there.
Man, I got back to John 3:16 after detox, and I absolutely hated my life because the only thing that made me happy was gone. And this is a really big turning point in people in recovery. How important it is to be around people who are going the right direction, people who are following the Lord, especially. Yes. That's the awesome thing about John 3:16. Nobody just gets in. You have to want in.
Right.
For the first month I walked around there, I wasn't a very happy person, especially the first couple of weeks. But I'll never forget the day.
You weren't happy because?
I just had this void.
Yeah.
I was sober, back to where we're going to.
Yeah.
And I was lost.
Yeah.
Everything I'd ever known was gone. Everything that made me happy was gone. Yeah. All these guys are telling me they love me and they want to help me, and it's just weird.
Kind of aggravating when we first got there. We're like, can y'all just let us be mad for just a couple weeks? But that was really...
And even struggle with that later. I mean, I think about our friendship.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I just jumped in and just loving you, you know. Yeah. I remember you just being like, this guy's a weirdo.
It becomes, but it becomes, what is the word for that? It becomes affection. I mean, it gravitates towards you. And it's like John 3, all the love and everything that surrounded that, it was like we were affectious. Yes, affectionate. It trained us to love, even though we didn't love ourselves, which was the main point of that. Mm-hmm. We didn't love ourselves, so we didn't think anybody else could love us, so we didn't want to show that love. They trained us to love, which made it that much more easier throughout our walk.
That's true.
So everybody's teling you they love you. You're just the mad guy that's been there a couple of weeks. Ready to slap somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, his stories were great when we first got there.
So how did you survive that? I mean, like, what's going on in your brain? What made you survive that?
I didn't have. This is one good thing. We were out in the middle of nowhere, so I really couldn't leave.
Right.
Just couldn't. I wanted something different. I absolutely hated my life, and I'll never forget that. It starts to wear on you, and you start to
love.
Yeah. When you
Yep.
start to lay in bed at night, or when people walk away from your picnic table by yourself, and you start to question, like, why are these people?
At first, it's like, what do they want from me?
What's your motive?
What's the motive? Yeah.
But then there is no motive because
we're all at a camp of 200 something men. Yeah, just trying to get better. Yeah.
And they ain't got nothing to give you. They ain't got nothing to
Yeah.
Man, and what's wild? This is where I pretty much got away from doing landscaping and all this. They make you water these bushes 2 minutes at a time. And I'll never forget this day. It's August the 9th. And I'm watering these bushes. It's 100 and probably 2 or 3 degrees. Remember, I grew up in church. I'd read the Bible, all that. And I'll never forget this. I'm looking down this road that you drive in on John 3:16. It's a long dirt road. I'm watering these bushes. I hate my life. I'm still detoxing. Man, I don't know how to describe this other than how it happened. The 15th chapter of Luke, it's like the Lord just started to, I don't know if you say read it back to me or what. Man, but I'll never forget it. It was 9:45 in the morning, August the 9th. And I just look down this road and it just plays out in my eyes, in my heart. I'm hearing the whole story again, and that's where my life changed. I told the Lord.
For our listeners, Luke 15, the story
it's the
is
prodigal
of the,
son.
Yes,
the prodigal son.
Yeah.
And it's been years at this point because I've been running in drug addiction for hardcore IV, heroin, fentanyl use for years at this point.
Right.
And I won my most prized possession today. Out of the things that will all fade away, when I went to that first teen challenge, my mom got me a Bible. And then they wrote in it, I'll never forget it, October the 30th, I think it was 2010. Yeah. I still have it to today. And the only reason I have it is because Pawn Shop wouldn't give me nothing for it. That's the only reason. And,
they didn't want no Bible.
Yeah, they didn't want. That's the only thing I have from my former life. That's it.
If you've ever bought a Bible at the pawn shop, please comment.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if the pawn shop actually would have a Bible. If you do, kudos to you.
Yeah,
you got a Bible.
that's cool.
That's right.
9:45, August the 9th. I'll never forget it. I was standing on this road, and all this happens, and I just told the Lord, at this point in my life, I've done the church thing, and I didn't, at this point, really believe in it. And I just told the Lord, I didn't know sinner's prayer. If you want something to do with me, here I am.
Yeah.
I know I've lived this life the way I've lived it, and I'm sorry, and I believe in what you've done. But if you will, just forgive me my sins, and if there's something better out there, here I am.
Yeah.
And from that day, my life's never been the same, ever. I mean, and when you look back in your life and you see when you give your life to the Lord, there's no second guessing it or that was it.
Yeah.
And
Zach, I feel like, we were talking about how we just felt like it was just yesterday, and then time flies, and we're 3 years down the road and all that. But I remember that day that it almost changed for you, because I just remember coming into the St. Lean house, I believe it was. And, man, there was just a different aura about you. I remember talking to you at the time, and you said, man, I don't ever want to leave here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something had changed in Zach, and it was such a beautiful thing to witness because, I was still dealing with some bitterness, anger, resentment, and I'd been there longer than him. Right. And I remember him saying those words to me, man, I'd just like to stay here for a long time.
Yeah.
Something changed in his heart that day, and it stood out to me, and I won't ever forget that moment when I got to talk to him.
So for our listeners out there, just understand, not everybody takes the same journey, not everybody has the same philosophies, and again, another reason this is called the big circle. If you think differently, we just draw a bigger circle and bring you back in it because we're all in this thing together, right? Yeah. But his tap out submission story, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. Thanks to all of our sponsors, and we'll be back just in a few minutes with Zach and Ivy.
Heron Tire, best from the east to the west, serving Paragould and all of northeast Arkansas for over 56 years. Tire shops have come and gone. Heron Tire has remained. We keep getting bigger and better. Got a flat? You don't have time for that. We'll get it patched up and put you back on the road. Stuck on the farm? No time to play? Call us. We're on the way. If you need to get the crops planted and you're feeling stressed, call Heron Tire. We're simply the best. New tires? We got you. Used tires? We got you. Rims, lift kits, oil change? You guessed it. We got it. So come see us at either of our Paragould locations at 700 East Kings Highway or 300 Airport Road. Heron Tire Service, 870-239-8466 or 870-240-0090. Yes, best from the east to the west. Quality Voices, hiring now for daytime and nighttime shift. They are a faith-based company that works on behalf of political endeavors and nonprofit organizations. You can fill out an application at 5510 Southwest Drive, Suite 4. They have great management, great family atmosphere, and a great environment. Quality Voices, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Leisure Comfort. At Leisure Comfort Heat and Air, we provide friendly heating and air conditioning repairs done right. We repair all major brands and give reliable options to get your system working properly. In the unfortunate event that a new equipment is necessary, we can make the installation seamless and easy. We install all major brands with free estimates and flexible financing options. Upgrading your HVAC system has never been easier. Whether you're looking for HVAC system repairs, seasonal maintenance, new equipment, or general construction needs, our trained technicians will get you on the best path to enjoying a comfortable home environment.
Guys, welcome back to the Big Circle, aka the Big Rectangle. Guys, this has been such a blessing, what we've heard so far. And if you've noticed the story about the realness and the authenticity, whatever you call it, of this story, that one. You see that Zach doesn't hide from his past. He embraces it. That is what makes this a success story, embracing the fact, because the world will tell you that you're supposed to hide from all these things that's happened in your past, and you're just supposed to act like it all happened. This is what makes a person's character and who they are, and Zach is such a blessing to us and so many, so we're excited to get
I
to
would
that
add a little something to that in this aspect. I mean, just from sitting down and talking to you, a lot of people go through the past and all they do is tell stories of the past.
Yeah.
And I can tell the whole time you're talking, it's like a journey to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like that's not a story you're just sitting around and telling every day. You're living after now. You know, you're living the afterlife.
Absolutely.
And that's what's even more awesome. I think some people get so caught up in telling war stories. Like it's just a war story, man.
And that's kind of funny that you say that, because, you know, at John 3:16, they were like, stay away from war stories. Now you can kind of go back and track that and say, this is why.
Mentally, it does something to you. I mean, you remember that, and it's a trap, and you're just like, you're not living in that trap, and I'm thankful for it.
Yes.
So let's pick up where we left off. So, you know, you're cruising along, John 3, you're watering the bushes, the story of the prodigal son comes, you're looking down the highway, or the gravel road, there is no highway.
No.
You know, and then you're working your way through this process, man. You finally said, Lord, if you got something for me and with me, and you can do something with me, he sees an attitude change in you. You jumped ahead of him. He's still doing
I'm wanting it. I'm like, now I'm getting more mad. Like, hey, he's
what
got it.
What happened to Zach?
I need it. So it was good.
John 3:16. At this point, there is a transition that happens. You go from having to be there to wanting to be there.
Yeah.
You find this peace in life when you're a drug addict your whole life, and you have how it goes. You have nowhere to really call your own. You have nowhere, because I wasn't a cool drug addict. I wasn't a guy who, like we talked about, who had it going on. I sucked.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was steal what you had so I could get some money to go get more drugs.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted me around, and people tolerated me like my family, but they still didn't want me around.
Right.
And then you go from that to being perfectly at peace in life, having a place to belong, having a family, and having 200 brothers, but they're really some of your best friends.
Yeah.
Because we're all on the same journey.
Right.
We've all been in the same places.
So does your parents, through this process, does your parents get to come visit you?
30 days afterwards.
Okay, so have you already had the awakening at the first visit?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Tell me what your parents, what's their...
My first visit was, and this is when you can really tell when somebody, not just me, but as you see people go down this journey. My first visit was good, but it was kind of hard. My aunt, me and her were born the same day, 30-something years apart. But she had been my best friend kind of role. She had been there. Hey, I know you're struggling. I don't really know if she's passed away at this point. I'll just say that she made sure I got to John 3:16.
Yeah.
And so I see my family comes in and my aunt's not there, and then I see my uncle who's he's from out in California. He's there. I'm like, oh man, something's not right. So I found out at my first visit that my aunt had passed away, and but you know, something had changed in my life because I wasn't mad or
Right.
I just accepted it and understood that, you know, as a heroin addict, I probably buried 200 people. Yeah. They're my friends. Yeah. And it's just something, I hate to say you grow cold to, but something like that. You know?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And that's
death becomes so normal.
It does. Yeah. It's very unfortunate. And at that point, I knew something had changed inside myself because that wasn't the reaction. I just understood that's how it was. And so my family comes for the first time. You look like a different person because in 30 days you've done gained 15 pounds. And
you're not cross-eyed.
Yeah, and you're not strung out and conniving. And so my parents, that's the thing about addiction too, like we've spoke a little bit in the past episodes, is that it's not just you who's trapped in addiction. It's you and your family. Yeah. My parents come, and I love this about John 3:16. Anywhere that preaches the gospel and helps me in drug addiction, it works on the whole family. Yeah. You know, you think your son's going to come get help, but in that, you all start getting better.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And as time goes on, I stay at John 3:16. I ended up saying nothing around 10 months. And the men and the friendships, the people that you'll never forget in life, because when you go through things like this and you overcome them, and men who go through it with you, it's I would relate it to something like being in the military. It's something that nobody else can really relate to unless you've been there. Mm-hmm. And it's like me and Ivy and different friends that I've went through, that you go through it and you just become friends throughout life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in that,
I'll never forget one day when I found out who you were. Mm-hmm. I remember Ivy was like, "Dude, that's Zach." The next thing he starts talking about is all the stuff you've accomplished since you got out of John 3. Like, he's like beaming, like he's like, "Dude, he's the best mechanic in the world," and you know, he's just
pumps me up.
You know, he's just fired up. I can just tell.
I love to see my friends do good.
You know, he's excited that you're doing good, and I'm just like, man, if we can, we all need to get better and being excited about each other.
Hey, each other's success, man. Hey, man, we're all on the same team in this together. Yeah, it's awesome.
So just get us towards graduation, and then we'll...
Man, graduation, 6 months to the day, and it goes so fast. It goes so fast. John 3:16, you're trusted as soon as you get there, which is another thing in drug addiction you never have. As you go down this road, you're trusted, you're allowed to go off camp, you're allowed to meet people, make relationships. That's how I got to Paragould, Arkansas. I've never heard of Paragould, Arkansas. Ever. Never even really been to Northeast Arkansas at this point. Right. And as I graduated, I stayed on to be an instructor to help guys. And then the really cool thing about John 3:16 is I was put in a mechanic shop for 6 months. Man, and that place is probably the best shop I've ever worked in. I've worked in some really high-end dealerships, places like that. This place is a pole barn with tin roofs. And it's where the Lord really worked on me as I was working on cars. Yeah. And I made these relationships with all my friends. Yeah. And unfortunately, some of those friends aren't with us anymore, as we see, you know.
Yeah, it's really discouraging, too, because we were just talking about how pumped up we were about, you know, Zach and what he's accomplished after doing that. But what's really discouraging is we see all of our friends that, hey, they're gonna be able to do this with us. Right. Some of them fall back right in that same trap, and that devil, man, all he does is bark. Yeah. And it's just sad to see people listen to the bark, because his tricks has never changed. Yeah. And that bark grabs people, man. We want to do better at grabbing those out.
So we'll end with this. On our next episode, we'll pick back up, and we're going to find out all the things that Zach is doing now.
Yes.
And at the end of the next episode, I would like to just maybe dig in a few minutes on what you're talking about right now. Sure. You know, why do people go back when there's so many things there, and how do we help rescue people that maybe are thinking that way? But man, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Tell them how to like us and all that stuff.
Yeah, guys. Make sure to give us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the podcast. Thumbs up on the Facebook page. A good share would be nice. 5 stars are always great. 4 stars, throw them in the garbage. We don't want them. Right. It doesn't matter to us. But if you got something good out of this podcast and out of Zach's inspirational story, just give us a share. It's how we get the good word out.
Yes, and if you don't give us a 5-star after listening to Zach, I mean, I don't know if you're human.
I'm reporting it to Google if you don't, so it's not a big deal. So,
later.